A Night of Chekhov is arriving at Actors Temple Theater on May 16th, and today we're chatting with the director of this production, Sanio Kurtesevic. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thank you, Brian. Looking forward to spending some time to talk with you and getting to know each other in the play.
Absolutely, which you're kind of in the last couple of days before it's finally presented to the world. How are you feeling right now?
Oh man, it's exciting. I mean, we've been at it for such a long time, and it started as a slow process. We took 6 weeks for rehearsals, and it's almost showtime. We have a couple more days to get things stitched up and just figured out. And but yeah, it's an exciting time to see the show come to life and see the audience's reaction on something that we've been close with and working with for such a long time. So yeah, it's
It's
very exciting.
it's kind of like that balance of like excited energy, but anxious energy too, because like it's a lot of pieces in the last couple of days.
Yeah, yeah, it's that. Well, that's the thing with I feel like in art, with art in general, you're always looking for chasing perfection with the understanding that it's never going to be perfect. So there's always something to do. And so I would actually be more nervous if we had 2 days left and I thought it was all complete and I had nothing to do. Then I feel like that would scare me. But being this close to opening and knowing there's like so many things that we need to do is like actually a good thing. And it also gives us something to do after we open, because I'm one of those people that believes that the job is never done. So even after we open, I like to make tweaks here and there and changes and be active and give feedback to the actors, because I feel like it's just the opening. It's just inviting the audience to get into the creative work, but the creative work never stops. We keep going and going and going. It's like a train. Once you get it started, we keep going. We might pause and get some passengers on board, which that is what I look at the audience as. But after they get on board, we keep exploring. We're going into the unknown, and we keep going at it. There's no stopping.
Which I mean is kind of that's the beauty of kind of live, theater too, is that like once you get the audience there, you're like, okay, what works, what didn't, how do they react to it, and then you get to fine tune some of that.
Yes, exactly. I feel like you hit the nail right on the head. It's a little bit of starting to actually get feedback from the audience, because we've been in it for so long and we have a good idea of what works, what doesn't. But it's like, okay, now we have to test it on the audience. It's a little bit of what comedians like to do. They like to play their shows in small venues and just experiment and see how it goes and this and that, and then they rewrite it. And so that's kind of what theater is, except we have to do with what we have, which is we have to go live and make changes after we go live.
So, A Night of Chekhov is a presentation of three of his rarely produced works. How did the kind of process
Yes.
of choosing these three works kind of come to be, or how did the show come to be?
Well, so I'm glad you asked. So, i our initial production that we did before Night of Chekhov was An Enemy of the People, and by Ibsen, and that play required such a huge cast. I mean, at one point we had 18 actors total, and
Oh wow.
we we narrowed it down to like 15, because there's so many characters, smaller, larger, and it's a very demanding play. And so after learning on some things that went well, some things that we could have improved on, we decided that it would be best if we focus on comedies and also
Sure.
keep the cast small. And who better to give us comedy than Chekhov? And I feel like his works, we usually highlight his major works, his Uncle Vanya's and The Cherry Orchard and The Three Sisters. But a lot of people haven't heard some of his shorter stories that he's written, some of his shorter plays. And he was a comedian at heart. I mean, he was a doctor and he had his serious scientific side, but then he used art to get comedy out there, and that's what these plays are. And so really I wanted to highlight some of that, and also use some of the actors that I've had worked with in the past. I felt that they would be good for some of the roles, and so that was also a big reason why I chose to go with these plays, because we're always working against time and crunch, and so it helped me save some of the time I would have spent auditioning and trying out people. So that way I sort of tailored these three plays with some of the actors that I worked in the past. So a little bit of everything, a combination of the writer, our needs, the cast size, and everything, and just the fact that I've had these plays in mind for such a long time. I thought they were hilarious every time I read them, and yeah, so here we
So
are.
you kind of knew that, you kind of had an idea of which three plays this was going to be for a while. Then it sounds like.
Yes, I did. I usually have ideas all the time, what I want to do, what plays that I want to that don't see done, that I have read, that I have good perspective on. But the thing is, I'm only one person. I can do one thing at a time. And I also like to focus when I'm doing something. I like to give it my 100%. So even though now I have ideas of what I would do, my focus is this play. It's these three Chekhov plays. It's seeing how far we can go with these three plays. And once we get as far as we can, then I feel like once I have time, once I feel the time is right, then I can move on to the next thing. So for me,
Sure.
it's instead of building up and adding check marks to that resume, I actually like to add a piece of work that will last, and I don't mind spending time on it, as much time as it takes. I'm ready to commit to that. So it's quality has always been my number one thing, and making sure that when the audience walks out of our productions, that they feel satisfied, that they feel that they invested their hard earned money into something that they would do it again. So in order for that to happen, we need to make sure on our side that we're giving them something they haven't seen, something that's going to impact them in a positive way. And that's why our rehearsal periods are so long and so intensive. And yeah, so
Now, when you're kind of beginning a production such as this, seeing that it is three separate plays, do you
yeah.
do you approach it with like you're directing three separate plays, or do you approach it like you're directing one show that has three different segments, or is there like a difference to how you would approach it?
Yes, there is a difference. 100%, 100%. There is a slight undertone of the way we structure these three plays so that the mood shifts in the way we wanted it to shift.
Okay,
But I want to say it's almost more difficult to put on three short plays than it is to put on one longer play, because
sure,
what happens is, in a longer play you have, hour and a half, 2 hours to work your way up to the climax, to the plot, and get the actors to feel the character. But what happens in a shorter play, for example, one of 20 to 30 minutes, is you have to do all of that in a shorter amount of time. So
sure,
instead of starting here on a normal play and building your way up, you actually have to start all the way at the top, and then it will start to go down, and you have to kind of take it up. But it is so much more important to start off on the right leg with a shorter play, because if you don't, it's so hard to work your way up to where the climax needs to be. And
sure,
so it's much more demanding on the actors, because uh, they have to use much more energy. They have to be much more energetic and much more captivating, and they have to do it three times in a night. And they have to do it with three distinct characters. And
wow,
since these are
that's a lot of
Chekhov
juggling.
plays, yeah, that's a lot of juggling. And so, not to not to count like having to redress for all the characters. in between having to rush to change costumes and all that. But the thing is, these are Chekhov plays. They're not just three short plays. They're three short Chekhov plays, and they're so intense. There's so much drama, so much energy. So I would say what I've learned is that I thought I was going the easy route by getting three plays that are smaller cast, easier to contain. I feel actually that they're much more difficult to to stage and to act in. So that's
Which
kind of
would
what
make
I
sense
found
too,
out in
because
the process.
which would make sense too, because it is, each play had, like you said, you have a shorter time, but it has a
Yeah.
distinct identity that you have to kind of meet and bring to the stage there.
Right. Yeah.
So you actually have quite a bit of passion for productions of classic plays. In fact, your production company,
Hmm.
Duze, is kind of dedicated to this mission. Why do you think it's important to keep classic works, kind of like the integrity of them, and to continue to bring them to
Yeah.
the stage?
Well, I think in a world of fast fashion and content that goes viral in a day and is forgotten in 24 hours, we have this, and also with AI and technology, it's very easy to create something and call it art, and then it's also very easy to forget about it. But these plays that have survived thousands, hundreds, when we look at the Greeks, thousands of years, Euripides, Sophocles, Shakespeare, and then we have Chekhov. I mean, these plays are over 130, 140, 150 years old. And so I like to focus on things that have survived the test of time. So even though there are plays that are written today that are good, there are plays that are performed that are good, but I like to focus on things that, it's just like the pyramids in Egypt, the things that stood the test of time. And the way I look at it is, we have so many of those plays out there that we can perform them every day, a different play, and we still won't get through all of the greats that have been written. So why focus on new work if you have so many greats to focus on? And I also think that in order to perform those great plays, we need to spend a lot of time rehearsing them, a lot of time on them in order to bring them up to where they need to be. And just knowing that, I know that in the world that moves fast, it is not something that most people do. They dedicate a certain amount of time to these plays, and scratch the surface of where it needs to be. And what we want to do is, we want to take those to the next level. We want to show why they're great. We want to show the comedy that the Chekhov wanted you to see. I mean, when he was still alive, when the Moscow Art Theater, Stanislavski's group, when they were putting on his plays, he wasn't happy. I mean, the greatest uh, acting teacher in history, in our modern history, Stanislavski, when he was putting out Chekhov plays, Chekhov wasn't satisfied because they did not have as much comedy as he wanted to. And so what our mission is to honor these writers by performing 100% of their work, never adapting it, always using 100% of what they wrote. We're doing our own translation to honor the author, and to make sure the text is not diluted in any way. And we're
That's
focusing on
incredible.
what their message was, not how we interpreted it, but the comedy that they wanted to see. We're bringing it. And so that is the mission. That is kind of why we decide to go with classic plays. Just yeah, I feel like art and history go together.
I was going to say, I've seen recently, I would say in the last year, I saw Uncle Vanya for the first time. And
Uh-huh.
there's so much comedy to there. There's so much
Yeah.
incredible work there that I think that sometimes, even though it's heavy, you can see where Chekhov really wanted that comedy put in there. And so it's important to,
Yeah.
keep that integral to the part of the play.
Yeah, and in with the state of affairs in the world today, and what's in the news, and human beings fighting for trivial things, I feel like the world needs more comedy. We have enough drama on the news, and what we need now is more comedy, more laughing. And that's also something I figured out in the last production that we did. Even though The Enemy of the People has a lot of comedy in it, I wanted to bring even more of that. And
Sure.
so I feel like we need that right now. We need to we need to laugh.
For sure. You're providing therapy for people who are coming to see the show.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. That's a great way to put it. I might put that on the flyer. Get your
I mean, it's
therapy
true though,
fix, 49.99.
it's, as a psychologist, it's a lot cheaper than coming to see me. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So with these shows, you're producing Swan Song, The Proposal, and The Bear. Do you feel like your understanding of Chekhov's works has changed now that you're directing it and seeing it maybe in a different light?
Um, no. I'll be honest with
Okay.
you. I'll say no. Well, the thing is, I'm originally I was born in Bosnia, so I'm originally from Bosnia. And I moved when I was 9 after the war in Bosnia, and then I spent the next 16 years in Phoenix, Arizona. That's where I grew up before moving to New York.
Okay.
And so I still have just growing up with European parents and having a lot of family and going back and forth. I still understand the humor of Chekhov, and I understand his approach, and I understand the subtext and just a lot of the jokes that most people wouldn't understand. Just because he says a certain line in the play doesn't mean that the character means it. If a character
Sure.
says that they hate somebody, it doesn't mean they hate him, but they might actually be in love with them. So it's like things like that. So there's like this certain approach that he uses with his words. And so I've always been lucky enough to understand that just because of my background. And so
Sure.
after working on it, I feel like I understand him even more. And I see a lot of more of the comedy, but I feel like I've already had a good grasp on it, so to say. But yeah.
You mentioned kind of the journey to here, but like, what was the kind of what's decide? Where did your passion for the arts really begin?
I always wanted to. First of all, I never wanted to direct. I still don't see myself as a director. I'm like, I'm still an actor. Uh, I always wanted to be an actor. And I moved to New York to study acting. I lived in LA. That's where I started to kind of get my feet wet and started doing film and taking courses and all of that. And then the more I learned about theater, the more intriguing it became. And then I had an opportunity in LA to do a role that was theater based. And it was much more exciting to me to be on stage in front of people and not knowing nobody being able to yell cut and me having to figure out everything and get myself out of situations. And I thought that was exhilarating. And so I made the move to come to New York and study theater, and that's what kept me here for a long time. I had my first 2.5, 3 years where I didn't really audition much. I just studied, went to class. I was fortunate enough to be introduced to a great acting teacher, David Gideon. He's a member of the Actor Studio.
Okay.
So yeah, and that those things open up the world of acting for me, and because I had so many plays that I wanted to do and I wanted to act in, and I wasn't seeing people putting on those plays that I wanted to see in a way that I thought they should be performed. That is how it led me to actually start producing my own plays. And
That's
I
awesome.
still have that urge to act, and I still love being on stage, and I still consider myself an actor. And so, who knows? Maybe I might come up on stage pretty soon too if I find a director I can work with and find a play that I really want to do. But for now, uh, theater in general is where my love is. Whether I'm in director's shoes, or if I put on acting shoes or producing or whatever it is, as long as I'm able to go inside the stage and even help with the set design, I mean, I'm good. So wherever I'm needed in the theater space, that's where I'll be.
You mentioned kind of like being like you don't still think of yourself as a director. You still think of yourself as an actor. Do you think that
Yeah.
helps with directing, kind of being like an actor first kind of individual?
Yes, I believe it does because when I see actors on stage that are having difficulty, I can put myself in those shoes and and work on helping them get over that. And so just being able to understand what they're going through helps me guide them through it. So yeah, definitely, I feel like it 100% it helps. It's yeah,
Because
no
you're
question
kind
about
of,
it.
you
Yeah.
know exactly how you want, people how, or like the restraints of people who are acting, so you can
Yeah.
understand that a little bit better.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that's I feel like those two things are so intertwined. Even every actor has to be a director. Because there's so many things that are directorial in a way that the actor can do, especially when it comes to doing something physical on stage, and being creative as far as what props do I need? What I feel like all of those things, even costume, a lot of it has to come from the actors. But if an actor is not able to get themselves to that level, then it's the director and all the other people that are involved that kind of help them guide the actor. And so that's what I like to. That's the way I like to approach it. Is instead of telling the actor what to do, it's giving them bits and pieces and kind of guiding them through discovery and have them figure out their own way how to do something. Um, so, for example, for the proposal, it's called a proposal. So we have to have a proposal happen. And so I have an idea of how I would propose to somebody, but I expect the actor to figure out how they would propose, how the character would propose. So instead of telling them what to do, I take a little box with a ring in it and I say, here it is, go propose. So
Right.
it's like, right. So it's like, it's one of those things. And it's
There
sometimes it's figuring out, okay, does the author call for a proposal? And if not, like, is it what is in the name? Do we actually need a ring? Or did the author mention a ring? If they didn't, do we need one? Are we going to put one? And it's coming up with those ideas.
And I like that you have a very collaborative approach too, of just seeing like, hey, this is kind of what needs to happen or what we want to happen.
Yeah.
Go make it happen.
Right, right, right. And I think some actors are comfortable with that. A lot of actors are used to being told what to do, and I'm the very opposite. I myself as an actor, I like the ability to make things myself. I feel like that's the creative process. That's what an actor is there to do. Their number one thing is to memorize the lines that the author wrote, and then the next thing is be creative with those lines. And so I feel like the less the director has to give to the actors, that means the actor is doing it themselves. So my approach is encouraging the actors to figure it out themselves, and it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that and to be comfortable with that. And so that's another thing that I've started to understand, just directing, and acting. As an actor, I thought that's how everyone functioned, and now I'm beginning to think, beginning to see that it actually takes a certain type of person to be comfortable with that.
I mean, absolutely. That makes total sense. So one final question for you is just what conversations are you hoping the audiences have after seeing A Night of Chekhov?
Hmm. I want to say it's there's so many silly things that the characters in the play fight about, and I would like them, even though we're playing on those parts and we're taking it to this extreme and we're making fun of it. I would like them to take that into real life and see where in the world, where in the news today, where is that happening on a larger scale, and why is it that we can laugh at those situations when they're done on a smaller scale on the stage, and then when it's done in real life, there's a lot of unfortunate wars and homelessness and just things that spiral out of control. So I would like people to come out in a good mood, having laughed and having seen that the things that we fight about as human beings are actually trivial things, and there's more to life than war. So
Incredible
that's
answer.
something that I would like people to come away with.
Well, thank you so much for being here and joining me today. It's been such a pleasure talking with you. And again, we're so excited for the show. So thanks for being here and chatting with it.
Thank you, Brian. It was my pleasure. I enjoyed talking to you, and hope to talk to you again in the future.
Absolutely. So, A Night of Chekhov arrives at the Actors Temple Theater on May 16th and runs through June 28th. So get your tickets now and we'll see you at the show.
Amazing. See you all. Thanks.